Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging hour discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Tom K. Wilson, provides you with insight and guidance from his years of experience as a successful real estate entrepreneur on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate, and much, much more. Now, here's your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Tom K. Wilson.
Thanks for tuning in to our Real Estate Radio Live program, your number one source for all of your real estate needs and education. We're broadcasting from the number one business radio station in the San Francisco Bay Area, KDOW-AM 1220, the Wall Street Business Network. I'm Tom K. Wilson, your host for the 2 p.m. Wednesday edition of Real Estate Radio Live. It comes to you on Wednesdays and Fridays at 2 p.m. and daily Monday through Friday at 3 p.m., along with my co-host, Joe Cucchiara, Mike D'Ambrosio, and Bobby Decker. If you can't make the live show, you can catch your podcast on reradiolive.com, and you can also catch my programs on tomwilsonproperties.com or on iTunes or on YouTube. Our program today is on lending, and lending especially for investors and investing, with in-studio guest Joe Cucchiara, our host of our syndicator and host of the other Real Estate Radio Live sessions during the week. You can go to tomwilsonproperties.com for a weekly economics newsletter. You can also get a report on how to select the best metro and product. And we also provide, Wilson Investment Properties provides turnkey, quality, cash-flowing residential and commercial properties and commercial syndications. If you have any questions, please let us know. If you have any suggestions for topics or guests, let us know that as well. And we offer free consultation to those who'd like us to help review their real estate portfolio that they have and where to go from here. So, like to, he needs no introduction to those of you who are regular listeners, but it's fun to be on the other side of the desk for each of us. And today we're glad to have Joe Cucchiara with us, a 15-year veteran in the lending business, and certainly he's been involved in the investor world as well. And Joe is the syndicator of the Real Estate Radio Live program and the creator of it. And he's with us here in the studio today. Welcome, Joe.
Thanks, Tom. It's great to be with you. It's been a great partnership the last several years, and a lot of fun. We continue to grow, and it's good to be on this side of the mic. It's kind of nice. I could sit back and relax a little bit and put the pressure back on you, so it's good to be with you. Thank you.
Thanks for being on, and kind of one of the milestones here for getting Joe on the program is we thought this would happen a long time ago, but Joe now he's with W.J. Bradley, who is a national lender, correspondent lender, and we'll get into that later. And although technically they're licensed in all 50 states, there are certain things that each branch and agent has to go through to get certified for any particular state. And Joe is now able to do loans in Texas. We've told people in the past, when you get a loan for a property in Texas, which is where most of our properties are that we provide for investors, that it's best to get someone who's in Texas, because if they are not, which really means if you aren't fully licensed for your branch, then it's tough to do, because Texas lender laws are more difficult to work with, and they're a little bit tougher. But they've gone through all the certification procedures and ready to take on that. And the advantage is that most of our clients are here in Northern Cal, and they like to be able to have access to and talk and possibly meet with someone who's actually here and someone who understands the California investor perspective. Would you agree with that, Joe?
Yeah, no, well said. Unfortunately, it's taken a little bit too long, but we're here ready to go, and we do financing certainly in all of California, but it's nice to be able to now handle your business, Tom, with all your investors and clients in Texas, and anybody else as well in the area of Texas. It's just it's a ever-changing market, as you know, on the investment side, and Unfortunately or fortunately, there's lending that goes along with that, and it's conservative in nature, but it's even more important to have someone that really understands what they're doing. So it'll be exciting, and I'm looking forward to our continued partnership. You and I have been working together for several years, but now on another level, so I look forward to that.
Indeed, we do too. It's a shame that all of our regulations these days make it more difficult to do everything. But I don't know, maybe there's a silver lining that since you've gone through all the hoops, then maybe there's less competition for you. But my experience is that W.J. Bradley has been able to offer terms as good as anybody for investors, and they are able to process things faster. So, Joe, before you've been in this business now for about 15 years, haven't you?
15 years, yeah, and I got into this business and not knowing anything about it, probably like most people, other than having a couple of mortgages myself. But at that time in my life, after getting out of another industry and selling a small business, what I knew about myself was I was more entrepreneurial. I wanted to do something on my own. I wanted to control my own time. I never liked the fact that someone could say, this is what you're going to make. That was never something very popular with me. So I wanted to get into something that didn't have any limitations. And I was fortunate. Plus, I love financing. I love people. I really enjoy, one of the reasons, Tom, I started this show, the focus is education and information. That was a platform in which I started my mortgage business, and it was an easy evolution to me to start the radio show and offer that same thing, because my belief is if you inform people, educate them, build a relationship with them with no strings attached, the hope is that, when they do decide to do business, that you have a better chance of working with them. And that's really the way I've approached my business. That's the way we approach the radio show, and I'm really excited about it.
I would guess that one of your most common denominator inputs from clients are the same as ours, and that is that you're genuine and transparent.
Right.
And, we just had some amazing events. We on teaching about multifamily and commercial investing. We had we were the keynote speaker along with their broker, Steve Fithian from Dallas, who came in town. We did the July month for SJREI, and we had a client appreciation meeting, and then we had a workshop the next day, and we had several people that came up to us and said, wow, we learned an awful lot, and we were expecting to be sent to the back of the room to buy something. And the last 2 or 3 events they'd been to, it was just upselling to the next thing and move them up the ladder, and said, you guys just went out of your way to teach. And you and I have that common philosophy, and I think that's why we've done so well as co-hosts here.
Yeah, I would agree. You've always run your business that way. And, in the day and age, Tom, where we live today, and information is just coming at you full steam ahead. Social media, the internet, everything is moving so quickly. Who could get the story the quickest? Who could get the information out the quickest? I think, quite frankly, most people are burnt out of the typical sell. In other words, you could tell right away if someone's trying to sell you something, whether it's a newsletter or a package program, or like you say.
Isn't it amazing how obvious that is right up front?
Yeah, for most of us, I guess.
have you noticed that almost every phone call that starts with "How are you today?"
Yeah.
you know that's not genuine, right?
Right.
It's they got something to sell.
Absolutely.
Well, just for fun, tell us what you did before the lending business and how you got into this.
Yeah, interesting journey. I was in the, I'll go back quickly and summarize this. So my passion, my dream was always to play professional baseball. That's what I grew up wanting to do.
And for those of you who haven't seen him, he looks like he could be a professional baseball player.
30 years ago. So that was my dream. That was my passion. I went to school locally here, went to San Jose City, San Jose State, and then got drafted after being at San Jose State with the Cleveland Indians. I'm very excited, of course, that those are early 80s, 83, 84. And whatever little things I had, I sold because I was convinced I was never going to come back and join the normal life. I was going to become a baseball player. Well, about 2 years later, the reality hit, and I had some arm problems. And what's kind of funny, at the age of 24, I was somewhat older at the time for still not getting to a certain level with my arm problem. So I got released and moved back and came back to San Jose. And I was fortunate to have when I left, when I was going to school, I had a job with Western Airlines back in the day when Western was around, and they were unionized. So my manager before I left said, "Hey, I know you're leaving, Joe, but if you just sign this, if you ever come back, there's a chance you could have a job." So I signed it, came back. So when I got released, I came back and settled back in with the airlines and tried to figure out what I was going to do next. And then about 2 years later, Delta Airlines bought Western, and it was a great business opportunity for me, career path. So I kind of started on the management path, managed the San Jose location, then got promoted to really a corporate security position where I was in charge of about 26, 27 airports around the West Coast.
And what was your responsibility?
It was really just making sure that all 26, those 27 airports were, secure in the sense of the guidelines met by the FHA and all the other governing bodies. And interesting now, that was well before 9/11, but basically I was in charge of the training, make sure people were updated on their training, and they passed all the tests and such. And that was what I did. And then the next step was a promotion to Atlanta, and it was a great company to work for. But we just had our daughter Rachel, and so my boss said, I'm going to send you out to Atlanta for a temporary assignment, and that was the summer of '94. And I spent 3 months in Atlanta on and off, coming home every other weekend. And when I came back, I was convinced that I needed to somehow stay in California. Love Atlanta, by the way, but not to live there.
I love the Peachtree City, but once you've been spoiled by California, it's tough.
So started my own business, leaving the airline quickly, and sold whatever was left of that to a manufacturer, kind of a concept and idea I had. And that was right about 1999, 2000, and that's when I joined the mortgage industry.
So what led you there? Why the mortgage
industry? Primarily, I was looking for a couple different things. One, that I could run my own business, so I looked at both real estate and financing mortgage, and I was always more of a finance guy. I was intrigued by investing and financing and helping people with those decisions. So way back then, I could remember clearly making a decision that this is really something I think I could sink my teeth into. And so that's why I got into the mortgage industry at that point.
Mm-hmm. And sounds like it's been a pretty good road for you.
It has been.
Yeah.
It has been for sure. It's been a good living, very good living. I'm happy with what I'm doing. And the radio shows have been a great vehicle as in addition to my business.
Good. We have with us in the studio today Joe Cucchiara, who's the originator of Real Estate Radio Live, and talking to us about his life path to get into the lending business, and how he has been in now the lending business for 15 years. And we're glad that now he's able to do loans for us, for our clients who are buying properties in Texas. So come back with us in just a moment. We'll talk more about the lending business as it applies to investors. Stay with us on KDOW.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Tom K. Wilson.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live with Joe Cucchiara in the office, in the studio here today, talking about the lending business. Joe, what's most rewarding part for you about being in the lending business?
That's a great question. I think the most rewarding for me is helping people make wise financial decisions. And I sound a bit like a broken record from time to time. I talk a lot on the radio show, but coming from a background where I wasn't fortunate enough to have mentors or father or people around to really kind of guide me in the financial world and investments kind of in general. So I was, all over the place. And so for me, one of the things that I enjoy most about my business is meeting with someone, first of all, building the relationship, and then figuring out how I could really help them make the best financial decision with their real estate in the way of a mortgage, refinance, purchase, cash out, investment property, anything as part of a strategy. I really would consider myself, Tom, more as it is a mortgage planner. I like that title better than I do loan officer or some of the consultants and that types of things, because I really like to help them plan through the process.
Isn't it amazing that in all of the schooling that we get, they don't teach us how to be a parent, and they don't teach us what to do with money.
Two of the most important things.
I never quite figured that out. That's kind of crazy.
It is for sure. So that's really the part that drives me, and that's the reason why I'm really energized to have this show and to grow it and have you as part of the presence here. It's been a wonderful, wonderful relationship. But that to have a team around, to be able to have similar values and to pass those on and to help clients the way we do day in and day out, that's what drives me. That's what gets me up every day.
I mentioned earlier about the events we just had, and for Wilson Investment Properties, drew 135 at the first event and 45 for an all-day, 46 for an all-day workshop. And I asked them, how many have heard Real Estate Radio Live? Mm-hmm. And about half the hands go up.
Wow.
That's
exciting.
That's exciting. Yeah,
that is.
That sure
That's
wasn't
good to hear.
Sure wasn't the case the first 6 months into it. For at least for me, probably not for you either.
No, it wasn't. It's been a good. This takes a while, and that leads us to another. It's kind of similar to your question. Is that anything worthwhile does take a while, and it takes time. And the word trust keeps coming up, Tom, because the longer you've been doing your business, the more and more people trust you, the more and more people refer to you, the more and more people you fill these rooms with these seminars and these events to help people. And likewise with the radio, what I found over the last couple of years has been a huge growth all of a sudden in the amount of people that email and call. And the first thing they say is, I love the show because, and then it's followed by the guest or the format and the fact that they learned something, we're not selling something to them. And so, but that's taken a couple of years to get to that point. But anything worthwhile does.
And of course, it's obvious that we like to build a relationship that results in ultimately in some business, but that's not what we start with.
Right.
And I think we focus on education, and if we build a relationship and they like what we're doing, then business will follow. So right. I really like to focus on the education part and the relationship. Let's minute and a half or so we have left in this segment. Let's start off with a little bit of review of what's been going on in the lending business, especially as it applies to investors.
Sure. I mean, the lending business, as we mentioned a little earlier, Tom, it's still a bit conservative. As we all know that several years ago we were, when I say we, the lending industry, were lending money to really anyone that you didn't have to have a job or really many other things. You could get money, and then it got such to be, disaster. We all know about the meltdown. So here we are 7-8 years later, and it's extremely conservative. It's loosened up a little bit, but for investors, I think they could be excited because there's some new programs. Now at least you could finance up to 10 properties and still get pretty decent financing. In some cases, even up to 20. Rates are a little bit, higher, but still you could do that. There's financing even for people that, had in some unfortunate situations that maybe had a foreclosure or bankruptcy, or I should say a short sale or something. There's programs out there. Right now, I would say it's a great time to be an investor with real estate, especially in the market that that your expertise is.
So, someone said to me the other day on a stage, says, This is one of the best times in the world to get in debt. So
I agree.
So let's next segment. Let's talk a little bit more detail about the different programs that are available.
Very good.
So stay with us here on Real Estate Radio Live with KDOW 1220 AM.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Tom K. Wilson.
Thanks for being with us today. We have Joe Cucchiara in the studio talking about lending. And Joe, my feeling is that it's tough for investors to kind of keep up with what's going on in this very dynamic and fast-changing business. Yes, it's certainly a lot tighter than it was, but sometimes I think there's maybe more options. We have clients than they realize. We have clients come to us sometimes and just assume that there's no loan money. They got to get hard money loans or so forth, and tell them, no, it's fine. You may need to go to an institutional investor like a B2R or something here at some point. But as long as you can get some Fannie loans, do them. You're not going to get any better terms than that.
Yeah, no, I mean, the easy answer is anything up to 10 properties, 10 finance properties, really simple. Financing's available. So Tom's right. I think there's still the perception out there in some cases like, oh my gosh, I want to buy an investment property. Do I have to have hard money or do I have to put 50% down? No, absolutely not. Depending on your circumstances, the minimum down, and there's programs out there available allow you up to finance up to 10 properties. The other thing, Tom, that you see it a lot, that I'm really seeing a lot now is people trying to be a little more creative. And what I mean by that is, they own a home here in Silicon Valley. Let's say it's worth $1.5 million or $2 million. They own it free and clear. They don't want to sell it. They want to invest in real estate, and they're thinking, what do I do? Where do I get some cash flow? I don't want to disrupt my retirement and some things. So some opportunity for some people to leverage equity in their homes to buy investment properties, depending when they're working with their tax advisor to find out if something like that's viable. But, there's a lot of different ways that people could creatively get into the finance world. And I know you teach that on a regular basis. I should say the investment world, especially in the market that you operate in with this Texas and these other states. And
we find that people are holding on to rental properties here, and it's for those of us that are in the business, it's well known how the cap rates and returns are quite different in other areas. But it's amazing how many people still hasn't been exposed to that. They'll have a house in San Jose for $800,000, and they're pulling in now an amazing $3,000, and I tell them for that $800,000 they can buy 8 houses in Dallas that bring in $8,000, and they just look like deer in the headlights. They must have heard it wrong, And I kind of assume that everybody knows that now. It's kind of ironic, when 50, 60 years ago there wasn't much difference between metros.
That's a good point.
So this kind of concept that now I tell people you can't turn back time and invest in Silicon Valley in the 60s, 70s, but you can effectively do so by going to other metros.
Yes,
but you want to go to ones that are economically strong. Actually, the returns in say are the virtual cap rates in Detroit are similar to say Dallas. But we all know that you got to take the next step and figure out which one's going to actually result in money in your pocket versus looking nice on paper.
Right.
So there's multiple steps you have to go through, and if you ask for our white paper on that topic, we'll help you walk through all those different steps of how you select the best metro and how the returns can vary quite a bit on one city to another. So we have with us in the studio today Joe Cucchiara, who's 15 years in the lending business, who can do loans for Texas properties, and we're glad to partner with him and refer our clients to him for new loans. So we're talking about the lending business and how it applies to investors today on Real Estate Radio Live. This is on AM 1220 KDOW, the Wall Street Business Network. So stay with us. We'll be right back, and we'll talk more about investor loans.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Tom K. Wilson.
We've got Joe Cucchiara on the other side of the desk today, and talking to him about the lender business. Joe, what kind of tell us what kind of lender W.J. Bradley is and how it varies from others?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. We are W.J. Bradley is a national lender, so we're a mortgage banker, which means we make our own decisions with our own money. So we have warehouse lines, and we do have investors, but we underwrite to those investors. With Chase's and Wells Fargo, those type of things. We, they own a lot of the market. So basically, in some cases, a lot of our jumbo product. In some cases, those are some of our investors, but we underwrite to those. So we don't have to. In other words, we don't have to send those loans to Chase or Wells or someone else to get decisions. We have the underwriting authority to make those decisions in financing. So a really good size mortgage banker, and somewhere between $5 to $6 billion a year in business over the last couple of years. We have a big presence in California. That's one of the reasons I chose them. We know the market in California, and California's a unique market. And since that's where I do 90% of my business, it was important to align myself with.
It's where you did do 90% of your business.
Right. Where I do it. So it's a great presence and great leadership team. I went out there and visited Mr. Bradley himself before I decided to join W.J. Bradley back in September of last year, and visited a handful of companies for that case and that matter. And they stood out in a couple different ways, and one is their leadership. The fact that he was a venture capital background, I like the fact, and honestly, which may sound strange, but I like the fact that he had a business background before a mortgage background. Because a lot of people in the mortgage business tend to, they grow up in the mortgage business and they don't treat it like a business. And so I like the fact that the way he's grown it, and he's done a great job. So, and they're very service focused and a team approach. I mean, it's amazing the service levels. I would say the biggest difference is everybody has the same product. Everybody should be pretty competitive. You have to be in this market. But the biggest difference would be, Tom, that if I need something done, if I need a decision, I could pick up the phone and I could get answers within an hour or so. And that's not easy to do. So what I tell people to summarize at W.J. Bradley when they ask me what's the difference, is that we have all the big lender benefits, but we're still very entrepreneurial. That's probably my best analogy of it, in that we could do anything a Wells or a Chase or a B of A could do. The difference is we don't have a lot of the bureaucracy and a lot of nonsense. If you need some things done quickly and some decisions made quickly, other than getting approved in different states, we could get loans closed. We could get loans closed quickly.
Well, my experience from what clients tell me, and of course when we get a client interested wanting a product, we don't just throw them to the wolves. We stay involved in every step to assist them along the way and service them in every way that we can. And we've sent a lot of clients to W.J. Bradley in the last few years. And I'd say being a house that can underwrite and close in-house is a huge advantage. Number one, it's the likelihood is virtually certain that they're going to be able to do exactly what they say they're going to do up front.
Right.
They aren't taking your loan app and say yes, 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 and then farm it out and hope somebody can do it, which is something you can experience with some lenders. And the timing is right on. It's rare that we have a surprise or slip in timing, and that affects lock rates and other people's plans and 1031 exchanges and all those things. So it's very very good to have you for our clients, knowing that what you tell them up front is what you can do. You aren't shopping around trying to figure it out, and to be able to close it in house is a tremendous advantage. Has been my experience.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. And I think the way I describe it too, and they hear a lot on the show, is I would like to say that the way I operate is relationship lending. When I meet with someone, whether it's your client or any client, I'm going to take very good care of them. I'm lucky that I have a great team here, because it takes more than one person, as you know, if you're running a business, to do it right. And the group of us know how important people are, and now how important relationships are in delivering on our promises.
We certainly have had clients across the country, but indeed most of them are California. And I think even if someone thinks to themselves it's unlikely that I'm actually going to go into the office, they like knowing that they can.
Yeah.
And they like knowing that you can speak to them from kind of their local real estate perspective.
Right.
And I think that's a big big help as well. What are typical terms these days for an investor? Let's say he's got a relatively high score, and what's for a 120K house? What kind of terms can you usually give them?
Well, again, there's, as an example, let's say, if we're assuming good credit scores and depending on the amount of properties, with 25% down, typically an investor can get a 30-year fix still in the low 4% range.
Low fours, not even mid four. Yeah,
it's
unbelievable.
No, it is, and that's one of the reasons you mentioned earlier, Tom, is that I can't emphasize enough what a great opportunity is right now to buy investment property. And yes, because there's opportunity with real estate, but even more so, as Tom knows too, money is cheap. And all of us have got really, unfortunately, lulled in the sense that most people think it's going to stay this way, and it's not. The difference is when it starts to go up, it will go up quick. And what I mean is interest rates. And it happens that way. So I would encourage people right now, it's kind of the perfect storm. We have near historic low rates and great real estate, investment opportunities.
Yep, I absolutely agree. I tell people they ask me how long the window is, and I say, I don't know. It might be a few months, might be 2 years. I doubt it's going to be 3 or 4 or 5. But the Rothschild family was once asked to what they most attribute their great wealth. They said by making decisions too soon. Meaning sooner than other people
later
would who are too greedy and wait too long.
Right.
So I think jump on it now and maybe dollar cost average into it.
Yep.
We'll be back for a little recap here with Joe Cucchiara on Real Estate Radio Live on KDOW 1220 AM, the Wall Street Business Network. So stay with us, and we'll give you a little bit more information here on the wrap up about investor lending. Stay with us.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Tom K. Wilson.
Welcome back. We got Joe Cucchiara on the other side of the desk today as a veteran lender, talking to us about investor loans. And Joe, what's if someone wants to, a client is interested in getting an investor loan, what's the best thing for them to do? Just give you a call so you can kind of look at their big picture?
Yeah, I would say have them give me a call, Tom. They could reach me at 408-387-5302. Again, 408-387-5302. And the reason why the call is so much more important than interface or online is that we could start to build that relationship and really get the big picture and meet their objectives. I would hate to guess, and it's best to either go face to face. I certainly have an office here in Los Gatos if they want to meet with me, or we could schedule a phone call.
Yep, and I think it's hard for investors to understand how much more complex that world is than for an owner-occupant, because you're juggling often in several different loans, and it makes a difference in what sequence and whoever's going to underwrite some this time. It might be better to put it in one order than another, and you're one that stays on top of that and can advise them in a way that winds up with the best interest rates for them, and to get the most loans with the down that they would like.
Absolutely.
And it's so what are you guessing? Interest rates will bump up a little bit, but not a whole lot over the next year?
Yeah, I think on the investor perspective front, Tom, we could look at maybe by the end of the year, maybe a bump up in a quarter or so, and then even maybe going into this time next year, middle next year, I wouldn't be surprised if we're closer to 5% on the investment financing, which still historically is very, very good.
It's so hard to tell because there's so much government intervention and monkeying with the real cycles. And like Dr. Doug Duncan, chief economist of Fannie Mae, says, it's like a doctor prescribing 17 pills and the patient wants a prognosis. I have no idea what's going to turn out. But
you start trying to wean them off those drugs and pills, too. It's hard to know how the reaction's going to be.
yeah, it's true. It's true indeed. So, but at any rate, no matter how much they go, it's still going to be pretty good. So don't be in a panic, but there's no reason to put it off either. So it's great having you on the program today. So get hold of Joe, and you can also go to our website, TomWilsonProperties.com, and we've got W.J. Bradley and Joe's connection on there. And you can also sign up for our weekly newsletter. We're providing not only turnkey high-quality houses from Wilson Investment Properties these days, that you can see what the current inventory is on TomWilsonProperties.com, but we also have commercial syndications as low as $50,000 a share, and you can be an owner in a high-quality product that normally takes an institution to do. So you can check that out, and certainly we're available for consultation at any point in time. The newsletter, we have trust deeds available if anybody wants a loan on properties that we get for our investors. We do short-term and long-term loans, so lots of opportunities. So don't hesitate to call any of us for some more advice. We appreciate you being with us today, and we look forward to having you back on the next program here on Real Estate Radio Live on 1220 KDOW AM, the Wall Street Business Network. Nice having you with us today. And Joe, thank you for being here with us.
My pleasure, Tom.
And remember, the only thing that matters is what you do next. See you next week.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Tune in, log in, download our podcast. Discover more at RERadiolive.com. RERadiolive.com.